All right, good afternoon, everybody. It is Monday, September 22nd, 2022, and it's 6 p.m. And I will call to order the Freetown Board of Selectmen meeting. This meeting will be recorded, or is being recorded, and will be available on our town's YouTube page. So I'll start off with agenda item 1. This is meeting minutes from 9/19/2022. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the meeting minutes from 9/19/2022.
Motion made.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
All right, next we're going to go through the special town meeting warrant for 10/18/2022. To do that, I think we have to open it, so there's going to be some changes potentially, and adding some stuff and removing some stuff. So I'll entertain a motion to open the special town meeting warrant for 10/18/2022.
Motion made.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So this is going to be a little confusing, but we're going to do our best to get through it.
Let's do it.
Okay, so I think we have I think each of us should have the warrant as it was presented on 8/22/2022. And then we can kind of go through them. Some of them have not changed, some of them have. So I don't think we need to read the whole article right now. We've already gone through and read them all. So, and then we'll make a vote at the end, I guess, of everything all together, of what we do and do not recommend, and any changes. I guess we'll vote as, whatever we decide in the discussion, if there's, So, becoming a member of the Bristol Plymouth Regional Vocational Tech School, I don't think anything's changed on that. Is there any issues there? Discussion?
My only discussion is that we were getting some conflicting numbers, right? So I don't know if that is an issue we're going to have concrete numbers.
For the cost of the school?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been working on that, as you know, with Kim and the school. So I don't know that we've gotten conflicting numbers. What we've got is the cost. If we become a member, then we're on the hook to pay part of the debt for the new school. Mm-hmm. That has been consistently at projected 5% of the total cost, or $15 million. It would be approximately $700,000 per year debt assessment that the town of Freetown would be responsible for. Whether we have a debt exclusion or not, we will be responsible for that portion of the debt. Now that will fluctuate based on the number of students we have enrolled, and we're projecting 76 to 80 students. The other piece, but that's not the total cost. I guess that's probably where the confusion comes in. I've been looking now at what the total assessment might look like, and it's hard to know. I'm using other towns' assessments to sort of base our projection on. So in addition to the debt portion for building a new school, of course there's operating costs that we will be responsible for. That includes just the day-to-day operations of the school plus transportation. And so one assessment is based on the state. The state kind of sets that rate, and then the transportation will fluctuate depending on the number of students. Mm-hmm. So when you take it, it's sort of a three-prong assessment. It'll be the assessment for the daily operations, which the state will set, the transportation costs, and then the debt assessment. When you add those three numbers together, I think we're looking at closer to a $2.2 million a year annual cost. Now that's a scary number, but we're already spending $1.1 million for our students that are going to BP and Old Colony, and we have 1 year that doesn't have students. So it potentially could have been $1.5 million in the past, because we pay a tuition to those schools for the students that we have going. So I am trying to get a good handle on the bottom line, best estimate I can, so that we have a real good picture. And based on my numbers, I believe if you take the debt and put that aside, because that's one number, we will probably incur an additional $300,000 that we will have to take out of our operating budget to join BP, plus the debt of $700,000. Whether that becomes a debt exclusion or we have to take that out of our operating budget is a very important concern. Does that clarify it?
Yeah, I mean, it clarified to show like how, there's a lot of uncertainty, right? And there's no real way for us to know. I didn't think, one thing to think about is we don't have a vocational option right now. So that is a big part of this as of right now, right? That's, so.
I agree with it, I just wanted to make sure that we kind of clarified it, right? Because
Yeah.
there was just, when talking, there was some adjustable numbers that, so it's like everyone is hearing certain numbers, but then there's other pieces of it.
Right, and I'm working on trying to put a spreadsheet together, because of course, everything isn't gonna hit. Just because we join next year, we're not gonna have to pay these huge numbers, because the school is not being built, it's a few years out, and we're not at full capacity with our students yet. So I was gonna try to put a schedule together so that you could see how we would be kind of heading into the full amount, which will probably wouldn't hit to 2025 budgets or 2026. I'm not there yet, because I've still just been pulling these numbers, and they're all projected, estimated numbers.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
when you get to, you'll see, we're gonna work on the postcard. A lot of that information will be, not the numbers necessarily, but some more information about BP is included in there.
And one thing, I will note this, but, we have now where the Finance Committee and the Planning Board and other boards have voted whether they approve or don't take a stand. So for this one, the Finance Committee does recommend this article, just to put that out there.
Thank you.
All right, so with that, I guess just from a discussion standpoint, I don't think anything's changed here. I think we did recommend this last time, or I don't know if we actually made recommendations last time. We
No.
didn't. There's the placeholders. So, and I'm trying to think of the best way to do this. So it's hard because the articles don't have numbers yet. So I was like,
I think we know the article we're talking about. If you guys, I
Okay.
think you need to have the discussion about whether the board wants to recommend it or not, and then we could take
Yeah.
a vote at the end.
okay, I mean, I guess so. Discussion. I mean, I plan on recommending this. Where do you guys stand on this?
I'm for recommending it.
Yeah, first to maintain a proper school district, we need a proper vocational education, and this is it.
Okay.
So if there's that only option, then absolutely, we need it.
Okay.
Obviously, there's more discussion down the road, but it's the only option.
All right, cool. So, okay, so that makes sense. And we'll move on to the increase the senior work-off program. There's no changes to this since the last time. Did we have dollar figures?
Yes.
We did. So some of the changes that we're going to talk about here is previously when we discussed these, there was no dollar figures, but now there is. So this is just if the town will vote to increase the amount of tax credit for senior may receive from senior work-off program for $750 to $1,500 annually. So I think I'm going to recommend this. Finance Committee recommends this, by the way. Any discussion on this?
No, straightforward.
It's a great program.
Okay, so,
I recommend it.
all right, great. All right. So moving on, the next article was the land transfer from MBTA to town of Freetown. It looks like that does not need to go to town meeting, so that one's going to get removed.
You know why it changed? Is it?
I think it's just like, at first, we thought this had to go to the town meeting, but now it's gonna go through a different mechanism. That's my-
Generally, to accept land, you have to get the town to agree to accept the land, but with conservation land, the town council has said it's a different procedure. Mike McHugh has said, I don't think it has to go, and we followed up, and it does not have to go to town meeting, so we can, you can vote to remove that article.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if they're saying we don't need to, why have it on there? We have enough.
Yeah, it's just a piece of land over by Forge Pond,
It's like a sidewalk, right? A
by
little
the
tiny
MBTA, yeah.
lot, right?
All right, so that makes sense to remove. I guess we'll just
Yeah.
Yes.
all right. So this is the purchase of Railside Mower for Highway Department. That's the next one. It's $38,000. They need, I have no issue with this. The Finance Committee recommends it. Any discussion?
No, it's equipment needed. So,
Okay.
Well, one concern here is, so the last town meeting, we appropriated $48,000 for the truck. Do we have that littled out to make sure that we don't have to go back and say, hey, we have to increase this cost? Or is this a firm cost? I know the truck is taking some time to get, maybe next year.
Yeah,
So do we-
Chuck's not here, so I don't know.
Yeah, we take the numbers he gives us
Okay.
when he asks to put a warrant.
No, it's a good point though.
Try to save some time down the road.
Yeah, it's a good point. I just don't,
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, they need it. They obviously use it for all the different fields and highways and everything else, so it's being used.
Yeah,
So
okay.
absolutely.
All right, so I think we're all in agreement there, that recommend? No changes? All right, so then moving on is the MS4 management permit, the stormwater management permit. So now the dollar figure is 50,000, and this is something we're pretty much required to do. Any discussion on that?
No,
Any?
something we were behind on and.
Yeah, we're chipping away at it. All right, so I think we're all in agreement that should be recommended.
Yes.
So then, this is a tricky one. The next is reclassify the Council on Aging building funds. So do we want to, I think the question is, do we want to remove this one based on all the different potential directions this is going? Does it make sense to reclassify this money right now when, we're actually on our agenda later on today is to change, dissolve one of the committees and create another one, subcommittee?
Well, that committee that we're thinking about creating is a advisory committee. So they don't have any appropriations or any way to allocate those funds. They'll go from recommendation from the advisory committee to the building committee, essentially. So, I don't know. Do we stop it, take it off, and then what? They'll say idea, go back in June, right? Redo it in June, put this back on in June, or is this just?
Yeah.
Well, here's the problem, right? When you have all these different ideas for buildings, right? Where, it's like we're trying to, we're keeping something, I don't know, to me, I'm saying remove it, but.
What I don't want to be, I don't want to look like we're stalling a project that's already been agreed to in so many different ways. And I understand that we're going to change the committee potentially later if we vote on it.
I think that we might have to then reclassify this money anyways, right?
Right.
If we change, the project changes itself.
Right, ultimately, the COA strongly opposes reclassifying this money. I think they would like to see how things are gonna proceed and move forward before they feel comfortable reclassifying the funds.
Yeah.
Ultimately, if the building committee and the selectmen decide to build a joint building, then, and not do this project, I think it actually could just dissolve anyway and come off be reappropriated that way back to the general fund. But we need to do a few more steps before we're ready to have funding. I just wanted the funding available so we don't slow down the project. When we're ready to go to OPM, we have the funds to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But we could come back at any time at a special town meeting and try to fund this either by taking money out of capital stabilization, which requires a 2/3 vote, or by reallocating free cash if we have it at the time.
So it sounds like it won't slow down the project if we decide to move forward. That's what I don't want in the
I know, I think they're concerned that we are not gonna move forward and so they wanna protect their funds in case the town doesn't move forward with a new building, then they can maybe build their addition.
And if we didn't reclassify this money, right, and there's another type of temporary solution, like I know that we've discussed those before, for the COA, could this money be?
It can be reclassified at any time.
It couldn't be used right now to fund that, though?
No.
Okay.
It can only be used for what it was, what the article stated it was for, which there were two separate articles, as you know, each for $550,000. One was for construction, the other one was for design and build and construction. So it basically has to be for the COA.
Yeah, I hear you.
And that's why it doesn't work for COA/library joint building.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, I think it makes sense to remove it just because it's going to cause a lot of confusion and it just doesn't really make sense to me. So I think we should remove it. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think you nailed it right there,
Yeah.
Deborah, honestly. We're gonna create more confusion, and that's something that we've had them, I say them, the Council on Aging upset with us, thinking that we're, people are going against them, even if they're trying to go with them, so.
Yeah, I think it makes sense to remove it.
Well, it's one of those things, we're not going against them, it's,
Oh, I understand.
we're following what they asked us to do. They created a subcommittee, subcommittee said, build a dual building.
Yeah.
There shouldn't be any more back and forth. I understand it's a hot topic issue, but it's, moving forward is the way to go. So,
But they've dissolved that since, right? So we don't have, well, theoretically, they're supposed to dissolve that, so that's not even agreement anymore. Even though I agree with that statement, you do too, I'm
Yeah.
saying based on the
Yeah.
way things are right now.
All right, so you think, Charles, do you think that we should leave it on? To reclassify it?
yeah, I really do, because the decision's been made. Now we're kind of going back to, I don't know, we keep going back and forth, we're never going to get to a solution. And the idea has been put forth, both committees, they agreed to it. I know there's some reluctance after the fact, that it looks like the arm's not talking to the other arm, as far as COA, and then the subcommittee, but decision was made. I don't know, I'll go along with whatever the majority is, but it's like, let's just rip the Band-Aid off and move forward.
Okay. What's
I
that?
mean, the alternative is you can remove this article and place another article on there that says to take $550,000 or $500,000 from and appropriate it for the design build of the new building.
Yeah, that way it gives them the
But,
assurance that's
now
going
we're
to
taking
happen.
$500,000 out of free cash.
Yeah.
And this $1.1 million is gonna sit in this account. But that is the alternative if you wanted to make sure the money's there. I mean, we do have some legwork to do before we're ready to hire an OPM. Say it may be February or March. We could always have a special town meeting to work on that at that time as well, appropriate funds.
Okay, so let's circle back on that. And when we vote, we'll figure that out.
Yep.
All right, so increased funds in accounting department personnel.
Okay, on this one, the finance committee would not recommend it without a number, so I plugged the number of $30,000 in there,
And they recommend that.
and they did.
Okay.
So that would be the number that I
And this is
put in
just,
there.
additional monies because we have to hire.
Yeah, cost of, it's been tough hiring. It
Yeah.
really has.
Okay, so I think we all recommend that?
Yes.
All right. So this is addition of employment position to bylaw. So this one, the community program director. So this one is changing from the Parks and Rec director to the community program director. I got that right?
Yes, and that was a recommendation of the Collins Center.
Yep. Just it allows a more broad kind of reach. That makes sense to me.
Great idea.
So we all agree with that change?
Yes.
Okay. And the finance committee also recommends that, oh, I did the wrong one. No,
No, it's just.
No, sorry, I read the wrong line. Yeah, finance committee takes no position on that, to be clear. Okay. The next one is to fund the community program director.
So again, the finance committee would not take a position unless I put a dollar figure in. So we were thinking that this position would not get filled until further on, probably March or something prior to the season of the summer and the boat ramp and all that. So the number is $25,000 that we put in that.
Okay.
And they recommended that.
All right, so are we all on board with that in discussion?
So that'd be the salary of the individual?
That money, that $25,000 would be to fund the position from whenever we hired them until the July 1.
So part of their year salary.
So I mean, we could be, and we haven't really discussed that in terms of
Right, yeah.
part-time, full-time.
No, that's
Yeah,
pretty
it
good.
could very well end up being a part-time position, right, depending.
Yeah, with very preliminary conversations on
Yeah.
it, but yeah,
At least
25 should be great.
Okay. So next is it decrease the school assessment, and the dollar value on this is $93,940. And this is, so it's just moving monies back into the general fund that, because it was
Right.
overestimated.
There was the state, we got more state aid
Yeah,
than originally
We thought.
than we were getting. So this school, this is the amount of the additional state aid, so it's coming back to the general fund, yes.
any discussion on that? I think we're all good?
Obviously,
Like money?
great, yeah, this is, money back is always a good
All
thing.
right, great. So this article, the next one is the transfer cemetery commission personnel budget to the unemployment budget. And this was two articles, two separate ones. The second one was transfer the highway department personnel wage to the unemployment benefit.
Right.
Now we're just going to combine. The change would be that we're combining these into one article.
Yeah, it's just combined, the same thing.
Same thing, just combining to one article. Any discussion on that?
No, that's perfect.
And with the article itself, we recommend, the finance committee does recommend.
Yeah, right.
All right,
Excellent.
It's just sort of an internal transfer to cover unemployment
okay,
from extra funds.
moving on. Funding to hire the senior clerk for town hall, we now have a dollar figure for that. The dollar figure is $19,610.49, very specific number. And the finance committee does recommend that. Are we all on board with that one?
Yes.
Yes, it's definitely needed.
Okay. Moving on, funding to hire a human resources director. Finance committee does recommend this, and it's $75,000. Any discussion?
No, I think that's something else that's also needed.
Absolutely. I agree.
Yep. And, okay, so we're all on the same page?
Yes.
Moving on is the possible purchase of 2 South Main Street. This was on the last town meeting. It did not pass. The finance committee does not recommend this. I did and still do recommend this based on that we own the property next door. We cannot do anything with that piece of property because it has no room for a septic or parking or anything else. I think it makes sense for the town to buy this piece of property, so then the adjacent property or abutting property actually has some kind of value and can be used. That's my personal take on it. So I personally recommend this. Any discussion?
I still feel the same way as you, that I think it's multifaceted. We can put a septic there, we can put parking on top of it, even though it's not a lot of parking, it's still parking that will help eliminate some of the problems that we're dealing with at town hall. So,
And even if it's like, just becomes, like even if we don't use it for town hall parking, like it could be a yard / septic / 2 parking spots so that the house that is there could be potentially fixed, right? And then, because right now that house wouldn't have any parking anyways, right?
yeah, and so even if it was a business that.
It was whatever we could do something, it's taking and it's in the heart of our, Four Corners, downtown Sonnet, and it's an eyesight, right, eyesore, right?
Oh, absolutely. That's my biggest thing.
Potentially it's dangerous, too.
Both the building is on the verge of collapse. That's just one snowstorm away from coming down, right? Let's just face it, there's multiple holes in the roof, foundation's cracking, but nothing we can do about it because there's no parking or anything. So if both of those pieces of land are flat, it'd clean up that entire area, that's for sure.
Yep. Or if someone wanted to be a brave soul and come in and buy that and rehab it, I think that'd be great.
Yeah.
But right now, all right, so I think we're all in agreement that we recommend that article?
Yes.
Okay. All right, so next is the lease of the Santander Bank for Town Hall Annex. Finance Committee takes no position until amounts are provided. We did get some amounts today.
Just amounts today, which is, I've been working on this for a while. So there's 2 pieces of this. The bank that as you know, Santander Bank, is just the bank. As if you've ever gone in it, it's the bank. There's a back room, like a break room and a bathroom back there. That is a 1,500 square foot plot, and the lease amount is compiled of a couple of numbers, but one is $12 a square foot, plus what he calls triple net, which is a portion of real estate insurance and maintenance. All factored in, it's about $2,100 a month for the bank portion. There's also a room behind the bank that's roughly 768 square feet. It's been used for karate, it's been used for, I think, boiler classes, and there's an accountant possibly in there now that may also be available, or we could get that for the same price. So that one would run you about $1,000 a month. So my thought was maybe we just try to, at least the front portion, move a department or move departments over there, see how it works out, and if the back should become available relatively soon, maybe we can lease that as well. The issue is it's not as customer facing as sort of the bank is. So you'd have to really think about what departments you'd put there, because there's not as easy access.
Yeah.
My thought would be hopefully we could poke a hole through and get the access all from the front, the Santander bake piece. But
So right now, there's not even a doorway or anything?
no,
right?
there's
'Cause it's a
nothing
bank
there
site.
currently, and I don't know if it was, that back room was added on later so that the wall between them might be the outside brick wall, like a concrete wall that would have to be cut, but it can be done. So I think we need some direction. Do you want to just focus on the front, the actual Santander bank, at around $2,100?
I think that makes sense for now, and we can see how that goes. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah, I guess I just need to know what would go there and how much space it's gonna take up, right? Because to that point, is the 2,100, is the front gonna be enough overall, or is it gonna be that
How
we
many
move
square
someone
feet
over
is the
there
front?
and that's not even enough space for them? And then they need to take up the back, right? So it's like knowing whether or not we need both pieces up front or just one.
We
I
are
know
so
that's a
desperate
loaded
for
question.
space, right? So we could utilize quite a bit of space at the town hall. I mean, we have people on the third floor in the stage, so to speak, that is something, I don't even know how to describe it. So I've said all along, I really don't want to be the deciding factor of what department gets moved over there, but there's a couple that make sense in terms of whether it be the clerk, because she is just got stuff everywhere. She needs so much equipment and things because of the registrars and the voting and all of the election workers and all of the other things that she does. And she's customer facing, right? I think the one thing is it's ADA accessible, it's really easy for parking. So you want to put a department there that has a lot of foot traffic and a lot of customer facing relations. So that's one department. The other obvious department would be the tax collector and the treasurer, because you could pay your taxes in the drive-through, right? You could just pay your tax bills that way. They get a lot of foot traffic, and that's where a lot of our parking issues become very critical, is around tax time, because we as employees have to find other places to park to make the parking lot available for residents who need to park there and come in and pay their tax bill. So,
Makes a lot of sense to me.
right, if we move the tax collector and the treasurer's office, that's the two offices on the first floor, then the clerk could also push through to the treasurer's office and have that whole half of the building, and the vaults that she needs are there. She could take
It's a
over the
bank.
treasurer's
It's already got bank
vault,
vaults. It's perfect.
So, and then maybe we could move, maybe planning and conservation down to the tax collector's office currently. I don't know the scenario,
No, and I don't expect it to. I guess I just want to know, like, as far as the layout and if we're going to have enough space for them over there, right? Because what your second scenario in my eyes makes the most sense.
Right.
As long as that's enough space for them.
I think it is. Originally, I wanted
More space
both
than they already
departments to
have,
go
right?
there. I was hopeful to get both the clerk and the treasurer. Well, after viewing the space, I think we'll just be putting them over there cramped. And they'll be on top of each other there. So again, it's a short-term solution to our bigger problems of space and also just the ADA accessibility and the parking. It will alleviate some of those concerns, because now I've got 3 employees that are consistently parking somewhere else, and people who need to come and pay their bills and whatnot can go there. I mean, there'll be other things to consider in terms of how we internally move paper. Right now, we're all in one building, but I think they can be worked out because it's so close by.
So are you saying you think we should go for the full both spaces? right off the bat, we're gonna go for it? And do we have a dollar figure for the whole?
So the whole space is about $3,000 a month.
And Deb, I don't see it on here, but, so are we going in, agreeing to a 1-year lease, 3-year lease, 5-year lease? What is the minimum amount we have to put in there? So right now, we're at $36,000 a year at $3,000 a month, well, roughly.
I'd like to
Alright.
do a 3-year lease.
3-year
because
lease.
That gets us, hopefully through where we then have an idea of what we're doing for buildings.
Yeah, because if there's something we've learned, it's that this stuff doesn't happen overnight, right? So I guess to have the space locked up for 3 years would make sense, because even if you had to do something with a big picture, it's not gonna happen in a year's time,
Yeah.
so.
Now, do we also pay for lighting and everything else?
Well, so in that case, right, so I think that probably like what you're saying there, so. like,
$108,000
So
over 3 years.
if we do the, 3,000,
108,000.
Yeah.
6 years.
like, and then if we don't use it,
Yeah.
well, so if it's 3,000 times, so it's 36,000, right, for the year?
About, just about.
So if we do the 36,000, if we try to get that amount appropriated, so you're saying for the 3 years, that's what you're saying? But that's what- okay,
That's
yeah,
what he's
yeah,
coming
yeah,
up with 180.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Now, does that make sense though, is like, so we just, yeah, I guess if we do a 3-year lease and that money is now earmarked for that.
Does it come with any, additional questions come up, does it come with desks, chairs? Does it-
No, the space
Well,
is
the furniture.
empty. In fact, it's completely empty. The only thing, did you ever go in that bank?
I did.
When it was a bank.
Yeah.
The only thing that is left is where the teller counter is. And on the other side of that is a bunch of safes. So I know Cheryl said that would be helpful if she were to be able to go there as the clerk, because she could use all the safes. All of the other, and then in the back corner behind where the tellers were, there's an office there, that's a permanent fixture. All of the other offices or cubby spaces, those were all modular walls, and they've all been taken down. And they're there in a pile, and they've said, if you want to lease it, you can have them, or we will remove them. I said we would probably want them, because we would need to set up modular stuff.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Well, if it's there, that's fantastic.
So then, in that case, should we just go for the 108,000 for 3 years to get that allocated over, and then at least that gives us the, I don't want the sticker shock to scare people off, right? That's what I'm concerned
I
about.
think you would only need to allocate for 1 year,
Yeah, we
right?
only have to allocate for 1 year, and then it becomes part of our budget.
Okay, all right, so then let's do the 36,000 then. All right, that makes sense to me. All right, so are we all agreement on that?
Yes.
You have to do that much, because you've been moving it until probably half the year's gone.
Yeah, that would be fine.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, well, that's a good point, but,
So it's available as of November 1st, I believe, but, and that's why we've been talking about it for a while, but it hasn't come up until now, because Santander is still technically
oh, yeah,
leasing it.
yeah, even though they've been out of there for a while now.
So, what is that?
But I think,
7 months. 8 months.
I say we just try to get 36,000, I think that makes sense.
Yeah, I hate to all of a sudden find out we could have moved into space, but we need to wait because we won't have the funding to last the year, because we went $3,000 shy, so twiddling our fingers for a month over a small amount of money.
Yeah.
So.
All right, so we all on the same page there?
Yeah, I'm just always wondering if there's any town buildings we can use already that we can use to our advantage versus renting something out. I know it's tough sledding on that. Everything's being used, but
Yeah.
just long term, it's just,
But
do we move people then renovate the other offices? Is that the plan? Well, I guess I'm thinking ahead of time. We'll discuss that later. But it makes sense. We need the space.
Yeah. All right. So next, there's a change to the next one, which is the purchase of ballistic shields. It originally was 1 shield, now it's 2 shields, and the dollar value is $12,000.
Yes.
This is recommended by the Finance Committee. I don't see any issues with this. I think we need ballistic shields. We all in agreement?
Oh,
Yes.
absolutely.
All right. To the back page. So moving on to the active shooter training for police officers and firefighters. Looks like we have a dollar value at $18,405. Finance Committee recommends this. Any discussion?
no.
No, it's a great idea. Getting everybody involved that's gonna be there at that time, to get them all on the same page, excellent idea.
Perfect, all right, I think we're all on the same page, great. So next, for the supplement to the capital stabilization fund, so we're removing that.
Yeah, so, I put these on as placeholders because they just sort of go on every meeting warrant, but then afterwards, once we put the funds in capital stabilization, then to get them out and do anything, we need 2/3 of vote. Given the fact that we have the fire station addition renovation sort of moving forward, at some point, hopefully prior to the June town meeting, in that special town meeting, we may need to allocate funds towards that project, and it'd be easier to do that without them being in capital stabilization. So I talked to FinCom, and they recommend that they get removed, and I sort of agreed with them after we had conversations.
Okay, that makes sense to me.
Yeah.
We good, so we're cool removing that one? All right, so now that's done with all of the articles that we've already discussed. Now moving on to, there's some petitions that were added. So, these, we don't have any ability to, remove these or change these in any way. But I guess we should discuss them. So this is the revision to Article 11 of the Freetown Bylaws. And this changes, it's a common ownership kind of situation. I don't know really, I understand the high level concept of it.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what, if you have any discussion on this?
Well, one says the Finance Commission does not recommend, and the other one says the Planning Board recommends this article.
Yeah, I should mention that.
Background on that?
Good point. So I know the Finance Committee doesn't, because this will lead to more developable lots in town, so I think the Finance Committee does not recommend that because they think that the impact to the school system will not be offset by the increase in property taxes, because property values will be worth more. I'm not sure, I wasn't at the planning board meeting, I'm not sure why the planning board does recommend it, but they do. And this is for the whole town. And then there, I guess, related to it, so is Article 13.1, which is just specific to the Sonoma Bay Shores. And this one, the Finance Committee also does not recommend it, but the planning board takes no position on that one.
Do we know why?
I think you have them the opposite.
Do I? Sorry.
11.2.
Oh yeah, my bad, you're right.
The Finance Committee doesn't recommend either one.
Yep,
The Planning Board recommends the article that creates an overlay district, which is the longer of the two.
yep.
But they do not recommend the other one, where it just strictly sort of repeals common ownership for the entire town.
Gotcha. All right, sorry about that. I while I was reviewing everything this morning, or this afternoon, a tree fell in my front yard and took down my internet, so I didn't have a lot of time to prepare.
Should have prepared.
I just didn't get this far
Should've
through
known that
everything.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my bad. So, I guess, yeah, I don't know if there's any discussion on this.
No, but I'm sure if I picked up on it, simple guy, I'm sure other people will pick up on it as well. We just need a good explanation why these committees said yes or no, or takes no position, just in case we are asked.
Yeah.
I know it's long enough on the warrant down there, but I don't know, explanation for the residents that are reading it, going, why did they say yes or no?
I think that will come out during town meeting
Okay.
for sure.
Just as long as it comes up, just want to make
Yeah.
sure everyone is on the same page.
So if we don't have to take a position on these?
Yeah, so they're going through.
Okay, so as we won't take a position on those two for now? All right, next is some additional articles that will be added, potentially. So this is funding the union contract for the police association. So there's no dollar value available here.
This is simply a placeholder. I'm not that optimistic that we're going to have a number, but we do have an upcoming date that we may be able to get this CBA moving.
So that makes sense. So we'll add it now. If we if, you know, we can't get a number, we'll have to remove it, we'll have to open the article, you know,
Just table
open it back up and
Just
table it, yeah, okay.
At the time meeting.
And then we have 2 unpaid bills
Do we have a recommendation or
for the,
taking no position on that union contract for
I
now?
would say take no position.
yeah,
until
take
we
no,
have
yeah, no
motion on it.
position.
Yeah.
You're doing, yeah, you are taking very detailed notes, aren't you, Luann?
Thank you, Luann, we
You can see,
appreciate
I
it.
got it,
you
because
do.
this is gonna be tough. All right, so then, sorry, so moving on to unpaid bills for fiscal 2020. So there was 2 unpaid bills. Where am I?
There are 2 from WB Mason for 2020, and then today we got some water department one that was missed for 2022.
The Crystal Rock Water?
Yep, okay.
See it, got it.
Yep, so,
I'm sorry? That's
Yeah,
what
the-
I'm like.
What is it?
And
So one bill-
For $50, right?
$50, and then the other bill was for $137.28.
And just for my awareness, are we putting this on the articles because it's past years? We have to go back in
Yeah, so we
time?
can't pay
and-
them unless we go back,
Okay.
because the money is gone, you know, we have to.
Makes sense.
pay money.
Yep, so I think I recommend these.
Yes.
We have to pay our bills.
Absolutely, yeah.
All right, we all in agreement with that?
Yes.
So we're
Okay.
gonna add and recommend.
Add and so we're adding and recommend, yep, exactly.
Correct.
Why is it 9/10?
Yeah, I just saw that.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I never knew that. That's a good one.
It's by the ounce.
That is interesting. Yeah, it requires a 9/10 vote.
Yeah, that's what I just.
I don't think I- Okay, so I think we got through everything.
Nope.
No?
No, we have
One more
one more.
article.
Sorry. Sorry.
Next week.
Oh, you're right. I just like checked it off like I did it. Okay, so now the debt exclusion, so this is, I think there was some discussion whether we wanted to add this or not before. The finance committee it has submitted it. I think that since they have submitted it, I totally think that this is a very important thing that we need to do. If the first article passes, we really need a debt exclusion. So my personal opinion is I recommend debt exclusion. I don't know where you guys stand.
There's no, in my opinion, there's no other way of doing this
Yeah.
without really hurting the town.
Yep.
In fact, I recommend that we put this ahead of the other vote. Make this one go first, so that we know whether or not we do it right. If we go the other route, the town's gonna be hurting for a few years to come.
Yeah, I mean,
So I'm just, again, we're all for the vocational school, but everyone needs to know what the money amount is, right? So we say, like, worst case scenario, right? We say yes to the school, we say no to debt exclusion. It's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt a
Yeah.
lot. And I, town services and everything else, so we need to make sure.
Is there any doubt, and it's a good point, is there any downfall to us flipping it first?
we haven't set an order yet.
Yeah, you guys can
So
do it
I think
all.
that what Carlos just brought up is a great point, so we go for the debt
And-
exclusion first, and in that way,
And I don't think if they're both on the warrant, you discuss them sort of simultaneously, right?
Mhm.
You vote on them separately, but the discussion will be sort of simultaneous.
Okay. So I think that we all recommend, and we also, I think that the consensus was that it'd be moved up, in the order.
Prior to the.
Yes, I think the rest of the order, are we all okay with the rest of the
Yeah,
order?
there's always perfect, yeah.
matter.
This was the only one that was kind of like, it's confusing if you're not really following the whole conversation, right? And you get to the end, you're like, wait a minute, how much is this gonna cost? And more likely it's still gonna pass, right? Who knows? Well, maybe not, right? But at least everyone knows the information so that they can't come back and say, oh, we didn't know about this. We don't want that.
Okay, so now, I think we went through everything
Are we
first pass.
recommending that?
What's that?
Are you
Yes.
recommending it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Recommending and also just, we're okay with the order of everything except for that one. The consensus was that would be moved up to, either first or second, it has to be at least in the same conversation as the first article. So now the only one that I started to circle back on was the reclassify the Council on Aging building,
Right.
which I think we talked about removing it. Then, I think Carlos wanted to kind of.
Well, I just want to make sure the options are there right? I know it's gonna take time to get the ball rolling, right? To get to the building, the dream, whatever the idea is, right? Do we almost nail ourselves to the ground by removing it, or do we say, hey, leave it there, and then the idea is still alive, that it's like, hey, we're gonna renovate versus building a building? You know, again, I go back to what the subcommittees did, which they did a great job working together, COA library, and they voted to move forward the joint building. And now we're going back on that.
See, I do agree with you.
It's tough.
So, and what the vote is here, right, is we reclassify it from the COA to the COA/library, right? And I agree with you. My thoughts on this are just from a practical standpoint, that I think that this is gonna turn into a huge mess at town meeting.
Could be.
I really do, and this is a packed town meeting with a lot of stuff in it, where we have a lot more steps to even go through anyways, but we probably will have to reclassify this at some point, or at least I'll put that up for a vote. If we could, you know, pick our battles and maybe put this on the next meeting.
Oh, no, I agree with that aspect of things, absolutely agree. And I don't want to create any conflict with any groups or folks or anything. It's just, I want to make sure that we're not, they've been waiting, everyone's been waiting for many years, some decades, right? I just want to make sure we're moving in the right direction, which is forward,
Yeah,
you know, so
I hear you.
that's my concern.
I do, I don't disagree with you. I'm just looking at this from a more practical standpoint, I think, you know?
Yeah, okay.
So I guess, do we have consensus, at least majority, that we should
I think
remove
we
that?
should remove it.
Okay. All right, so we're gonna remove that. Got that one then?
Got it.
All right, so I think you have the notes on all of the changes.
So, I think what you need to do is take a vote to approve suggested changes to the articles, add and remove the suggested articles. I think if you do that one first, vote to,
Okay, yep,
and then you can make a vote to recommend all articles except the petition articles and funding the union contract, which you took no position on.
okay, all right,
Does that sound correct?
yep,
That sounds correct, too.
okay.
So you're gonna vote
Yeah,
to
to
approve
remove, yeah.
suggested changes?
Yep, okay, so I'll entertain a motion to approve the changes as discussed, as well as remove the articles as discussed today.
I'll make that motion.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, and then next motion will be, I entertain a motion to recommend all articles as discussed, except for the two petitions, which we are not taking a position on, and the two petitions, as well as the funding for the union contract police association.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I think I need a motion for you to add the suggested articles.
Okay, yeah, I think you're right. So I'll entertain a motion to add the last three articles we discussed, which are the funding the union last three. So funding the union contract, unpaid bills, and debt exclusion.
There's four, there's two unpaid bills, so there is four.
There's four?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the two.
Yeah, sorry.
I'll make
You
that
got that.
motion.
All right.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right.
That was a long one.
We are.
I'm exhausted.
Chairman?
We need to
Yes.
Do we need to just discuss number 2 that was withdrawn, just for the record?
Oh, yeah, so, yes, agenda item 2.
Correct.
Yeah, sorry, I skipped over that. So agenda item 2, we had an application to shoot a music video at Hathaway Park, and those folks have decided to go a different direction, so we're not discussing that in today's meeting.
It's too bad. I was looking forward
I was looking
to.
for it, I think we all were,
Yeah,
but, you know,
it's gonna be
can't
a
win them
fun
all.
week start.
Now we need to close the warrant.
Oh, yeah, so I'll entertain a motion to close the articles for the special town meeting warrant for 10/18/2022.
I'll make the motion.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
So is that take care of 6? Or did I do that? I think so.
Do they have to approve final?
Because we voted on it, so I think, yeah, because we really approved, finalized, and closed. I mean, we did that kind of as part of the other articles. They were outside there. Okay, moving on. So this is agenda item 7. This is to approve the agreement between the town of Freetown and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Division of Standards for Weights and Measures. And it looks like this has gone up from, you may remind me the dollar values,
4,000 and now it's 6,226, I believe.
which is a substantial increase, but at the same time, it's a lot cheaper than us doing it in-house,
Mhm.
and we need to have this. There was, I guess, should we talk about what we discussed earlier about potentially? So, what other towns do, when maybe where other towns go out and they charge, users of the waste measurement services to offset the cost of the town. That's something we don't do right now, is provide for free. I think that's something, a small minimal fee will probably help offset this and make it budget neutral. So that's something we should look into. We don't have all the rates and everything down yet, so that's just
No, we're
something.
checking with different towns to compile something.
So hopefully we'll at least be able to mitigate the increased costs. It's not a ton of money anyways, but, All right, so with that, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agreement between the town of Freetown and the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Division of Standards for Weights and Measures.
I'll make the motion.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Moving on is the request for the inmate community work program for workers to clean up Innovation Way. This is just us to approve to make that request. I think that's a great idea. Innovation Way
1000%.
is tough right now.
It is.
I know there's been a
disgusting.
lot of work though already by some folks to clean it up, which we really appreciate.
We had about 20 people go out with the help of Mayor de Blasio and Fall River. We went out there, and there's some children there as well, about 20 people. Each broke out from the Freetown side to the Fall River side, and right where the neon gas station is going to be, in that general area, from there to the light, going towards Freetown, there's just
A wall of trash.
a wall of trash. It's in the,
That's not
you need,
recommended.
there's P-bombs, which means that people will be going in the bottles. It's just it's a hazard. And we, even with gloves and sticks, bags, we probably took out 30, 40, 50-gallon bags, and it's still another 100 out there, if not more.
Yeah.
So there's no way volunteers can take care of all that. You're going into prickers. So if we do reach out to them, please let them know it's a hazardous condition. Wear masks and gloves and everything else, because I saw diapers filled with things and bottles filled with things. And
Didn't you have Stop and Shop clean that up before?
This one it's really Amazon more than Stop and Shop on this one. Like Stop and Shop, they're probably, the truck drivers are probably guilty, I'm sure that's where it's coming from.
Yeah.
But I think that both of them are gonna point their fingers. I was just gonna say that though, we probably should reach out to Stop and Shop again, because I'm sure they would
Because I know
want to do it.
they cleaned up going up the hill.
Yeah.
You're talking about the far side, on the neon side.
Over the
Across the
24,
street,
yeah,
across the street from-
over 24.
So they'll probably say, our trucks aren't going in that direction, it's.
Right.
It's
It's
all the
definitely
people
Amazon in that
going
area.
into Amazon and the rest of the industrial park.
I think we should reach out to Stop and Shop and Amazon both to see if they're willing to.
so they
Help out.
provide some contact information to Amazon. I have sent an email and made some phone calls to see if we can have a sit down, have them come to a meeting and discuss a mutual way forward. Because I'm sure they don't want that as far as, not that we're pointing a finger, but at the same time, the only trucking industry in that section is coming from them, right?
Yeah.
So we put one and one together, right? It's only one location it's coming from. So we'll see what happens, but as far as the inmates, absolutely. Bristol County does a phenomenal job, not just there, but also at our baseball fields and everything else. Let's get them out there, and if needed, help them out.
All right, sounds good. So I'll entertain a motion to request to make community work program workers to clean up Innovation Way.
Motion made?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, draft postcard. So now, this is a bigger discussion, right? We do have the, yeah, let's move that to the end of the meeting. So we're gonna circle back on agenda item 9 after the public hearing, which is in a couple minutes.
Okay.
Next is the agreement between the town of Freetown and Morgan Records to scan and save the documents for the planning department. And this should be almost complete at this point, right?
This is the last project that will complete the IT community compact grant.
Exactly, that's what I meant, so, yeah. All right, sounds good to me. Any questions?
No. Did we put the dollar amount on?
Yeah, it's in here, so I think, come on.
805.
Yeah, then it wasn't,
36.
it's not much money.
Yeah,
3,300.
Yeah, 3. Yeah, that's all.
all right, so with that, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agreement between the town of Freetown and Morgan Records to scan and save documents for planning department.
I'll make that motion.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so now I'll kick it over to personnel.
All right, personnel, item 11, acknowledge the expandment of the library planning committee effective 4/21/2022. This is pretty straightforward. The library committee sent us an email stating that they they've disbanded, 4/21/2022, so we're just making it official.
All right.
So I entertain a motion to acknowledge the disbandment of the Library Planning Committee effective 4/21/2022.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, item agenda 12, acknowledge Joshua Taft's resignation from the Cable Advisory Committee effective 9/14/2022. Essentially the same thing, we received an email from Joshua stating his resignation.
All right.
So, pretty straightforward. Any discussion? All right. I entertain a motion to acknowledge Jeff Taft's resignation from the Cable Advisory Committee effective 9/14/2022.
I'll make that motion.
I will second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item 13, discussion and vote to disband the Library Senior Center Building Subcommittee and COA Subcommittee. Along the line, the last two, the same thing. They've disbanded, so we're just here making it official.
All right.
All right. I entertain the motion to disband Library Senior Center Building Subcommittee and the COA Subcommittee.
I'll make that motion.
I will second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Item agenda 14, discussion and vote to establish the Council of Aging Library Committee Building. Hold on, maybe back up there. A discussion and vote to establish the Council of Aging Library Committee Building Committee, the makeup in charge of this committee. So, last time we discussed this, we looked at 4 from each group, 4 from the library, from the COA, and 4 from townies at large, is that the proper word? Or different districts. You know, looking at it, and then of course 1 selectman, right? So we had people email us, write to us, telling us they want to be involved in the committee, subcommittee, which is great. We have great response to that. But it's 4 too many for each one. So it'd be, let's see, 4, 12, 16, 17 people.
Yeah.
That makes it tough for a quorum, right?
No.
Right, isn't it? Is it
13.
13, sorry, 13. Marine, math is hard for me. So 13 people, that might be tough for a quorum, right? So do we reduce it from 4, 2 or 3 instead?
I mean, I think, yeah, if we did 3, 3, 3, and 1.
You know, we just gotta make sure it's an odd number at the end so that voting wise.
Which that's not.
No, it's not. Or if we did 3, 2 from the town, 1 from each side,
Yeah.
and then 1.
Determine what's the sides though, because it's easier when you have precincts, right?
One for
Yeah,
each precinct.
okay, all right.
So,
That's,
So 3 precincts.
I know, I'm
Yeah. So if you do 3 for each one, you know, you get it at 10. So kind of almost makes sense to go 2, 2, 2, and 1. Get it to 9, right? Or 7.
yeah,
So,
I'm okay with that. I don't know
you know,
how that would be received.
well,
How many?
So 2,
7.
2, 2, so 2 from the library, 2 from the COA, 2 from the town, and then 1 selectman.
And I guess then you
It's
don't,
kind of a small committee.
so that's,
And ideally, you want 11. I've talked to Mike McHugh, who's, involved in
it's
this.
only 2 minutes.
Yeah, he's like a 13, 13 would be the maximum, I
Yeah.
think. That would be a workable amount. I guess if the issue is if we can't get a quorum, we have to circle back.
yeah, that was my only really concern, was with the quorum, regarding quorum. So we use it, so pretty much keep it the way it
We could
is.
do 3, 3, and 4 from the public, and just make
So
that
3
10 and
from the
11.
COA, 3 from the library, 4 from the public,
Yeah.
and 1 selected.
Yeah,
I like that idea,
Yeah.
actually.
yeah, that makes sense.
Okay, so 3, 3, 4,
4 and
and
1.
1. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. All right, that makes sense to me.
That works.
And then the charge, right, that's kind of a bigger question of what we actually want them to do.
Right.
Well, I think this is really, we're going to make this an advisory committee, correct?
I'm sorry.
This is, the plan is.
Well, I think that the thought process is if it's just an advisory committee, they don't want to be bothered because they want to be able to make decisions.
Mhm.
And I understand that, so that's why it's really important for the selectmen to decide what power, you have the power to do what you need to do. You're giving over some of your power to them. So you need to decide what you're gonna give them for power and what you're gonna allow them to do. It's gonna get there's just a lot of decisions that are gonna need to be made.
Sure.
So you're gonna want them to do some of that and be able to make some of those decisions, or you are going to be extremely busy board.
Well, we're busy already, and I don't have a problem giving them all the power they want. Well, to an extent, of course. Because we're going to be working with the building committee, right, at the end of the day. So there's going to be a teamwork down the road. So I guess the discussion is, do they talk about size and scope, or are they talking about furnishings, right? That's what we're talking about, right?
And so, yeah, we have to do a public hearing now, it's 7 o'clock, so we'll just circle back.
Okay,
to that.
that's okay.
I just gotta- So,
Need some more time to think.
all right, so we're gonna table that discussion for now. And I'm gonna open up the public hearing. It's 7 o'clock and September 22nd, 2022. I'm gonna,
I didn't see it when I.
so, I'm gonna read the public hearing. In accordance with the Mass General Law, Chapter 111, Section 31, you are hereby notified of a public hearing. The Freetown Board of Health will hold a hearing on Thursday, September 22nd, 2022 at 7 p.m. to consider a proposed amendment to the Town of Freetown Board of Health regulation. The proposed amendment is summarized as follows. Amend the Town of Freetown Board of Health regulations to include a new definition of cesspools and regulations pertaining to cesspools. Requirements for double compartment tanks and inline filters within the tanks as on file with the town clerk's office, and/or take any action relative thereto. This meeting will be held at the Police Station Community Room, 15 Moore Drive, East Freetown, Mass. 02717. The text of these proposed changes may be viewed at the office of the town clerk as well as the Board of Health office at Freetown Town Hall, 3 North Main Street, Asonia, Mass. 02702 during normal business hours. All persons, parties, and corporations interested therein may appear and be heard in relation thereto. From me.
From you.
So, Kevin?
Any gentlemen? Deborah,
Thank you.
how are you? Thank you for holding the public hearing tonight. These are a few recommended changes. When I initially took the job, I was tasked with, to a certain degree, looking at how we can make some minor changes that will be helpful to the environment, but also helpful to the resident and/or future resident. So, in my 9 months on the job and dealing with a lot of Title V inspectors, septic installers, engineers, I often pick their brain on site and ask them what are good rules, what are onerous rules, what do they think the most effective, cost-effective, and best way to accomplish our goal, right? Is that the greater goal of protecting the public health. So currently, virtually all surrounding towns now do not allow for a cesspool, a true cesspool, to pass Title V inspection, okay? And a cesspool, again, is typically going to be a pit dug in the backyard, stone-lined, maybe tile-lined, with holes in it, and the effluent just goes directly into that, and then it, just this past week, we approved 3 septic plans through conservation that were replacement of cesspools. Okay. I know that there were some questions relative to, how many we have. It's a hard number to come up with, but the best I can come up with is basically a house that hasn't been sold since the, say, early 90s and prior to, may in fact still have a cesspool. And certainly some of these family homes that have been in the family for generations, there are exemptions, and they'll still exist, right? For a Title V inspection when you're passing it down generation to generation, or even selling it. And most oftentimes, those are the ones that also have shallow hand-dug wells. And your fingers and toes are crossed that they are more than 50 feet away. And we're finding that that's not the case. So this was, it's almost a no-brainer in my world that this is something, every Title V inspector I've talked to said the same thing to me. Yeah, I don't know why DEP doesn't make it a mandatory thing. That a Title V inspector would have to fail it, right? And there's 2 different things. There's the Title V standard by which you have to design and install, and then there's a Title V inspection which allows for some well, it has some allowances for certain situations. So my recommendation is that we would adopt this regulation so that, and it's only, again, to be clear, we're not then going to start looking through the files to find people who have cesspools.
It's when they come in.
It's only at the time that they have they need to do a Title V inspection relative to a transfer to title.
Yeah.
They're in a failure situation at their residence and they want an improvement anyway. And so this also does not include like beehives, like my own system, right? I have a tank that goes to a beehive. So if you look, I went on my way to define a cesspool of any structure made of stone, block, or formed concrete intended and used for the collection of sewage that is designed in a manner that would allow for sewage to leach directly into the soil and is not preceded by a septic tank. Okay, because you can have a septic tank and a beehive and it would still pass Title V. And most oftentimes it's a reasonable system, right?
Mhm.
But these cesspools, just, they're not. So that would be the first recommendation that I had. The next one, and again, these all are under the same vein that I've spoken to inspectors, installers, and engineers, and most of them are already doing this. Engineers are already doing this on their plans. They won't design one without these. And that is a two-compartment tank. And so the idea with a two-compartment tank, if you have a single compartment, so all the effluent comes in one side, and then you'll have all the stuff that is associated with that type of material, and what can happen is it gets to the other end to go out, and now you can get blockage, you can get things that will not allow for the septic system to work. So in other words, now with the double tank, you'll have solids that will more than likely get trapped in the first tank, and then you'll have the more than liquids and the things that float go into the next compartment, before it outlets, which then gets me to a situation where I can talk about the third one, which is an inline filter. Again, most of the engineers have designed these already. There are some brand names out there. I don't refer to brand names because those can change, but the bottom line is we're finding that fields are failing. I have a gentleman in town who's on his third septic system in 20 years. He has single compartment tank, no filter, and his field is in failure for the third time. And what this does is, if you're going to have blockage, nobody wants the blockage up into their house, but what you don't want is that blockage is to be coming from your field, because by that time your system is completely failed. You'd much prefer the blockage being at the tank, or if the D-box, right? But typically the filter is going to get all the hair and some of the product, some of the things it's going to, and a lot of the things that float. And that first compartment's going to get a lot of the things that will fall to the bottom. So these are three recommendations or changes that I would like to see made that are relatively inexpensive. And what do I mean? The difference between a single compartment and a double compartment tank is like $500. And when you're talking about a septic system that you're probably entry-level septic system at this point in time is going to be $20,000.
I know that from personal experience recently.
Just saying, that the $500, and I will tell you, you amortize that over time and you don't have an prevention from failing your field later on, you're saving yourself a bunch of money. And the filter, homeowners can go in there, clean them out. I'd recommend people get on a regimen, or if not, then you should potentially hire a company to come in and do that. It will absolutely save your system.
So it's my fun chore that I have marked off every 4 months to do.
There you go. So,
That's when you do these.
again, relatively low cost. Most engineers are already designing the systems. Most other towns already require it, and it will be well received within the septic system community, so to speak, right? Installers, inspectors, and designers. There are a couple of things that I would like for clarification. I guess I was in our rules and regulations mode when I was typing this up, and within the body of the regulations, anywhere where it says Title V and I put Title V and I use the Roman numeral V for 5, that should be a numeric 5, okay? So before we adopt those, I would like that be part of the newly adopted regulations with those changes. And additionally, after reading the second one, so letter D, all new systems, upgrades, and repairs, currently it says, shall use a 2-compartment septic tank appropriately sized. I did not want that to be misconstrued so that if you have to do a repair to the field, that then you would automatically have to replace the tank. So I would like to add the wording, all new systems, upgrades and repairs that require a septic tank replacement shall use a 2-compartment septic tank appropriately sized. That will, I think, eliminate some, new people come in, regulations 10 years from now, whatever. Somebody won't then make you, because you repaired your D-box, now to replace your entire tank.
Right, makes sense.
Right. So I humbly ask that the board consider these recommendations for approval, and that we get them into our regulations as soon as we can.
Yeah, I mean, everything, Kevin, I thank you, because I think you answered a lot of questions that people could have in regards to this, and this is a health issue, right? That's why you're trying to do this. This isn't to hurt people, it's to help people
No,
and their neighbors.
you're right, Mr. Chairman. It's a health issue, but at the end of the day, we're actually helping.
Yep.
For the short money, whether it's for the repairs for the person who's going to be living there for the next 20 years, or if it's for a new resident that's coming in. The last thing we want them to do is to come in 2 years later and they have, because oftentimes you'll find these things, cesspools being used, and why they're not bubbling out of the ground is because they're in a situation where it might be an older couple or an older single person, limited use, so they're not doing a lot of laundry, they're not taking a lot of shower. And now you come in and you move in, and while it would have passed Title V inspection, the new family moves in and they've got 5 people, right? Next thing you know, that cesspool is bubbling out of the ground. We haven't done anybody any favors, the environment or our new resident. So I think it's a win for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, I'm obviously
Yeah.
against you.
Oh, it's no brainer, absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any questions from the public anywhere?
So as of right now, if you sell houses, no Title V inspection?
No, you have to do Title V inspection.
Yeah.
I can look, I should be letting the expert.
Listen, you're the board of health, Jim.
No, but I will defer to Kevin.
I'll caveat that. 95% of real estate transactions require a Title V. There are exemptions under Title V, and we're not looking to get rid of those. So if you transfer it within family, but every real estate transaction requires a Title V. An outside inspector, who's certified by the state, will go out and do the inspection. They're obligated within 30 days to present it to us. We charge a $50 fee. I will review the information on that to make sure that the information they're providing is accurate relative to groundwater elevation and some other things, number of bedrooms and things like that. But no, they're done on a regular basis.
Thank you.
So I think just make the motion, as Kevin has,
Yeah.
described,
All right, so-
with the amendments Kevin described, right?
Yeah, all right, so, with that, I will make a motion.
Entertain a motion, I guess.
Well, and yeah, well, I will entertain a motion to adopt the regulations that Kevin has described in regards to the proposed changes to the Freetown Board of Health regulations pertaining to the install of the subsurface disposal systems.
All right, I'll make that motion.
A second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I appreciate your support.
Okay,
Luann,
thank
do you have those changes, or you want me to? I will.
you got it.
You got it.
She's good.
She's on top
No, I
of
knew
it
she
today.
would.
That was all good.
I didn't feel like you want to add anything else, so.
Thank you, Kevin, appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Great work, Kevin.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for
Appreciate
answering
you guys.
questions.
Yeah,
Appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Okay, so now, yeah, so I was gonna say that, so
Do I,
before we go,
do I have to?
oh yeah, do you have to close the public hearing?
You should.
Yeah, but,
So.
so we better
I
safe
will-
than sorry.
Yeah, I will close the public hearing at 7:13 PM.
All right, great, thank you.
Thank you.
So since we have the chiefs here, they've been sitting here for a while, Charles, you mind if we jump ahead and take them and then go back to the other
Well, I'm
issues?
trying to look for them. Sure, absolutely.
Number 16.
16.
Gentlemen, come on up. We have a microphone for you. Love to hear your, so personnel board, we're going to discuss agenda item 16. This is a discussion and vote on the process to utilize for hiring the new police chief and fire chief. Welcome, gentlemen.
So I would like to first start off by saying, it's unfortunate we are losing both you guys, especially at the same time. You've been, great to our town, around the same time. But this is the unfortunate conversations we have to have of succession. So,
Right.
It will be greatly.
Charles, I don't know if you want to take it. I have some thoughts on this.
Yeah, no, go for it.
Okay.
I think we're all going to have some things to say, so.
Yeah, so I guess we have two two choices, right, for both positions, and I think it makes sense for us to kind of do this at once, because we have to go through this anyways, but, it's either we hire from within, and we promote, those who, the best suited candidates, or, and, think with that, the benefits of that, or we, don't lose any of this, or we keep the institutional knowledge, the people who've worked in the system. Also, I think there's a lot of folks who have earned it, right? They've gone through, they put their time in, they've done the right thing. So that's one option. The other option would be that we go and look externally, right? Which I think that's, we could get, a superstar, the best chief in their selective role of all time, but there's additional costs with that. We don't know exactly what we're getting. And I think right now we know like the job market's very difficult as it is.
It's tough, that's for sure.
So I guess that's kind of the landscape. My personal opinion, I think that in both scenarios, I think it makes sense for us to go forward, have the chiefs present their best candidates, and then we can, move forward from there and work with council. I don't know exactly how, we have to figure out the details of how interviews of that go. That's my opinion. I'd like to hear, kind of see where you guys stand on this.
No, I agree. So I look at the police department and the fire department very similar to almost like a military unit. Right? I'll use my background, and it's a rank and file system. Right? I'll speak to the fire department. You start off as a fireman, you move up the ladder to a lieutenant, to a captain, to a chief, assistant chief, then the chief. That's a great system, right? You have it all internally. You guys have been doing that for many years. It seems to be working. Police, in your situation, chief, a lot of people are retiring on your end, right. But like most things in town hall, we look internally first for a period of time. So we give it, of course, not going to be the same, but in town hall, say if we were to hire a new clerk or a new administrator, we would look internally first for X amount of days before we go to the outside. And so that being said, keeping things together, looking internally is the way to go. That's my opinion. I believe some board members also agree. So I believe the fire, you have a succession plan in place, right, as far as the structure. I think it's great. And I believe in the police department, I believe we might have a candidate or two that may be up to the task. And if that's the case, let's get in front of them, we'll get them in front of us and discuss it.
So I guess, Jerry, do you have anything to add to that?
I think you guys
that.
both nailed it, because everything I agree with.
So any thoughts, I guess, we can start off, Fire Chief, any concerns, thoughts, on this process, or what do you think?
No, we've had our plan in place for years now.
Yeah.
And, because basically I've been training my replacement since I became chief.
That's a good way to do it.
And as of right now, the deputy has basically taken over the daily operation of the fire department.
Yeah.
He's doing the bills, he's doing the payroll. So my goal is that by Halloween, I'm gonna just kind of fade behind him.
Yep.
And that way he's got 2 months. So if he stumbles, I can catch him.
Exactly.
Because we got a couple, because in December we get some ambulance licenses comes up, some weird stuff.
Yeah.
So I just want to be there to catch him, and then we'll be all set.
Perfect.
Absolutely. Let's do it. Thank you for that. That's great.
Chief Abbott.
Well, the second in command is going to be retiring about 30 days after my official retirement date.
And that's 2025, right, Chief?
We haven't been fortunate having received funding to sustain the type of training that I think was necessary for successive planning, but we do have an in-house candidate. He's a man of honesty and high integrity, and we should look forward to talking with him about this and see if it meets your satisfaction. I think as a threshold issue, though, we probably should have the board look at the job description.
Yeah.
And I brought that with me tonight.
Okay, perfect.
And so what I did was I looked at the job description, and then I looked over to what my contract had for duties. And on page 2, you'll see I highlighted 2 suggested amendments. Yeah, nothing earth-shattering. And then later in the document, under qualifications, I have a recommended amendment that reflects the law. That is, anybody being a police officer or police chief has to meet the peace officer standard and training committee's certification.
Yep.
That's about it. So, you know, if the board would like to review that and at some point approve it, so that'll be in place.
Absolutely, we'll definitely review that, and, you know, if any questions, obviously, we'll come back to you.
Thank you for this.
Yeah, and yeah, I think it'd be good if we have like just a job description. I think we have something in the works, right?
So we did start one for the fire, but I'll send that down to you if you can
Okay.
work on that. I was going to try to get it done today, but to get to you, but I knew you were in training and I couldn't get to it.
Yeah,
to be
so
honest.
just so we can kind of look through it and make sure, you know, just kind of cross our T's and dot our I's. And
I
then,
think there should be some perimeters in place,
Yeah.
at least some basic, obviously qualifications.
just for going, yeah, that makes sense. And then going, so I think next steps here, right, would maybe, yeah, I think we'll have to speak to the candidates, like present the candidates to us, you know, and then we'll speak to them, and I think open session, we have to do that per council.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think, I think tonight, maybe you wanna at least take a vote that you prefer to promote from within, if possible, if you can have a candidate that meets the qualifications. And I think that, setting that procedure in place, and maybe we can even put something in writing. I can work on that, you know, going forward, but as of for right now, just say, yep, the vote of the board is to hire from within if there's a viable candidate. This is going to be your first option. I think if I get that vote, and then I think we ask both chiefs to bring forth any candidates they feel that are going to be qualified, which we know that there are some in play here. Give us those names, and then the next, you can have a meeting and you can begin to interview them in open session and take that under advisement and go from there.
All right.
Yeah, because I think the fire chief brought up a great point where you've been training already, right? Even if that candidate decides they don't want the job or whatever, and let's hope he does.
Okay.
You know, that it's seamless, right? So I would love to have the same thing happen with you, right? Where we can have someone in place and start, you know, they might already have somebody.
So that's an excellent point, because obviously you want to schedule whoever you choose to have ample time to start going over the myriad of duties and responsibilities.
Yeah, so that would probably-
procedures.
We've been very fortunate to have two people there that know the job well and, you know, whatever, so
Yeah, that's why getting to this sooner than later, I think is a good thing, right? Or, I mean, we're probably almost towards the later as it is, but also it's, and then, you know, doing like if there's a deputy chief type situation or something of that nature, you know, or some kind of official distinction
Yeah.
to.
Not to mention, as you start working as a patrolman or as a fireman, you have a idea where you're gonna be 20, 30 years from now. That gives you more morale, more, you know, a greater purpose in that position to accelerate and rise to that level. So, and for me, continuity of operations, exactly what we're talking about, it's exactly what you've been doing, right? Everybody, really. Whether you've been training them or not, your officers have been watching what you've been doing all these years, just like the fire department's been watching what you've been doing all these years. You know, whether they take on those techniques or improve on them or change things on their own, that'll be up to them. But ultimately, we have good people in place to take on into the next chapter of Freetown.
And then, but let's not forget, to your point, because it's now that second person in charge now becomes first in charge, now we need to replace them, so on and so forth, right? So it's, there's a lot of change that's affected when you lose the person at the top. So the more time that we have, the better off I think we'll be.
A couple of things come to mind. I mean, a year ago, I don't know, maybe not quite a year ago, we talked about this when someone got injured. We brought in a new fireman so that we could have a succession plan. We don't have that in place for the police department. So, but we're talking about that today. We're going to have a succession plan, but we don't have any funding. So I'm just thinking about that out loud as we go.
For the police, you're saying?
Yeah, so
because
like, Is it something that we want to throw a quick article on to add to funding for personnel? What is your thought process, Chief? Help me out here.
Yes, good point. So I would think that you'd probably want 4 or 5 weeks, so we'd have to calculate whatever that differential would be. You know what I mean?
It's like, yeah.
And you think that's enough time?
Uh,
We won't have any more time than that, right? So you're not gonna, I got you, but.
Well, you said you were retiring, what, June 29th, I believe, right? So around that time?
Yeah.
So June 29th, what do we have? We have the town meeting, right? So budgets around that
So
time,
you
right?
have to
Before
look
that.
at either putting an article on to supplement the police budget on this warrant, or you would wait. and
I
just
think
say,
in the next meeting, we'd open up, we'd figure out, so by next meeting, we'd have that number, we'd open up and we add another article.
We're done today.
We're done?
These articles need to go.
Okay, to council,
Yeah,
okay, so it'll have to be the
need
next
go-
one.
Even be posted, right, in the way, am I wrong? We're pretty tight on our time.
We are pretty tight.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't think we can wait till after.
All right, that's fine.
Well, I guess we could always do a transfer at the end of the year too. I just, I try to be as proactive in planning as much as possible. My planning
That was
nature
gonna be
is
my next
like,
question. Is there almost an emergency avenue that we could take? Because to me, there's no question, right? It has to happen, right? It's safety, so.
There is, we can ask for a transfer. I just, it's not always guaranteed, right?
Yeah,
So
no, I know, yeah. Thank you.
But I mean, we could, you can open the warrant right now, and I can.
We just don't have any.
We just don't have the numbers, so we
Yeah.
kind of be
Yeah.
around
The
against.
language, I just don't want to.
Figure out some numbers.
All right, but, so I think we need a motion.
Correct. So I entertain a motion to utilize the internal hiring process set forth by the chief of the fire and the chief of police to look at internal candidates prior to any external review.
Okay. And, yeah, okay, so I'll make that motion.
I will second it.
All in favor?
Aye. You good there?
And so the next step would be for them to,
Yeah, just bring forward the I mean, that's part of the, I guess that's kind of covered under the articles, or the motion to, bring forward the candidates, I guess, right?
and
That was all
then
official,
the
it's all.
And then we,
Job description, just.
and Debbie will, work with you guys to figure that out, and Carlos also. All right?
So that person.
I know, sorry that it's so late in the agenda.
Thank you for coming.
That's how it works sometimes. Thank you.
One thing on the new chief has to grow, grow out. Supply the wax, but you have to grow out instead of down.
Okay.
That's a new bylaw, I don't know.
All right, so now we're gonna go
I think we go back to number 14, no,
Yeah.
sorry, 13.
13.
So, circling back to agenda item 13, discussion.
Oh, no, 14. no.
14?
Yeah.
Oh, we already discussed the 3,
Yeah,
3, 4,
yeah,
and 1.
yeah.
Got it. Thank you. Discussion item number 14, discussion vote to establish the Council of Aging Libraries Committee and the makeup and charge of this committee. So, this is
This is
the tough part, right? Because we want to make sure they're getting everything they want. Well, there's a give and take, right? There's parameters as far as what the town can afford and where to build it and things like that. So, but this committee needs to realistically come up with the size and scope of what they're looking for, right? The needs, not just the wants, the need, what do they need for this building? And then work with the architect, right? At that, later in the stage, work with the architect, make sure that size and scope is within, it's within the parameters of what they're looking for. I guess we have to work on.
Yeah, I got a suggestion. What if we voted on just creating it today, right? And then next meeting, you can work with, and get a nice description that's very clear. Something written up, and then we can vote on that.
Yeah, so I don't want to miss anything. And then
Yeah, I don't want to, coming up with something on the spot.
Right.
This is an important thing. I wouldn't want to be in that position.
Yeah, and then you
appreciate
come up with something specific and then and leave something else out, and then technically they're not allowed to do it because we came up with
Right.
some rash thing right
Yeah,
now.
so
So
we're
I like
probably
that.
gonna try to appoint people at the next meeting.
Yeah.
Appoint them.
Yeah.
Because, that's the next step on that committee.
Yep.
Okay.
So does that make sense? So I guess just the vote, the motion we need is just to create the,
Right, so.
we also create it and the makeup being the 3-3-4-1. I guess because we nailed those two things down.
Right. So I change the motion to create the 3 library representatives, 3 council of aging senior representatives, 4 members at large, at least one per district, 1 board of selectmen, as well as the makeup in charge of the subcommittee to be set forth on at the next meeting.
All right. I'll make that motion.
I will second it.
All in favor?
Aye. All right, good. I think that makes sense.
Excellent. Yeah, absolutely. We'll look at what the police did and kind of look at their building and what they, first steps they took and take it from there.
Go.
So the next one is number 15, and it's the discussion and vote on whether to appoint Isabel Ferreira as Assistant Town Accountant effective 9/26/2022 through 6/30/2023. I don't know. It's a tough one. Ms. Ferreira, she interviewed with us last week, and she did a phenomenal job, and she was offered the position.
Perfect. Great to hear.
Internal position, moved up, and that's the way to do it. So
Love to
that's what
see
we
it.
discussed with the chiefs.
All right,
So any discussions or any questions? Excellent. So in that case, I entertain the motion to appoint Ms. Isabel Ferreira as Assistant Town Accountant effective 9/26/2022 through 6/30/2023.
I'll make that motion.
I will second it.
All in favor?
Aye. Okay, now we're gonna go back to agenda item 9.
Right.
All right, postcard, which I think we all have a copy of.
Yes, and I was working on this right before I came here, so that's why I want to make sure you spend time on it, because I think it's really important of the
Yeah.
information we share with the public.
So we have all the articles, so we don't really need to talk about that, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's just part of it. So then, okay, that's in the, well, I don't know how this is gonna look. I've seen it, I know what it looks like, I'm trying to remember. There's a lot of information
Well,
here.
that says it's like a postcard, like a one piece of paper, like.
And it opens up, right?
Small,
A little
yeah.
tab in the middle.
We'll have the articles in the back, we'll have BP, so what I have here probably won't fit, and I may have duplicated some. Like I said, I was kind of cleaning this up right before I left.
Okay, I hear you.
But
So,
as we know in the past, we want to be careful with what wording we use.
yeah, that was gonna be controversial no matter what, but, all right, so our students go to, so the question, this is a Q&A type format here, which I think makes sense. So our students go to BP now, why do we want to join the district? The answer to this is the Freetown students are not guaranteed acceptance into any vocational schools that we are not a member of. The Old Colony Regional High School was able to deny our students admission because Freetown was not a member of the district. The goal is to provide a consistent vocational option to the Freetown students without fearing of having a school decline admission of our students.
Because you know what happened in Old
Yeah.
Colony, right? They
Yeah.
just-
Straightforward, absolutely.
So, I'm like, that's what I said, people are gonna ask why, I mean, if I didn't know, I'd be like, my kids already go there, why do we need to be a
Yeah.
member and
I
pay
think
all
it's
this
a-
money?
yeah.
So I wanted to get that out there, we wanna be a member because the fear is they can just, and I can maybe even get a little sharper with that, like they can, that they can just deny us at the 11th hour, which is what happened.
One thing I want clarity on, which I've heard back and forth, is like, so what other repercussions of us not having a vocational option? Because people ask me that, and I don't know, like, I think it's crazy for us not to have, I mean, personally, I think it's crazy for us to not have a vocational option, right? But at the same time, like, is there grants that we withheld or like funding that won't come
So,
through?
no, I did ask that question, because that did come up, that maybe we wouldn't get chapter 70 money, that's,
Yeah.
Yeah, Alan, I asked Alan, so Alan Strauss, superintendent of schools.
Yeah.
I asked him what the repercussion, and he said, there's no financial penalty if Freetown doesn't join. Currently, the formula is a loose formula, he's talking about the chapter 70 money.
Okay,
He said Freetown legally always needs to provide a vocational option whether or not they are members of a vocational district. If Freetown doesn't join as a vocational member, technically they are opening themselves up to the risk that any parent could get their child into any school in the state, and Freetown would need to provide tuition and transportation.
that's a problem, that's a big problem.
That's
good to know.
Offset by
Western Mass.
chapter 78 for that student. Technically, it's the risk of the unknown cost and providing a consistent vocational option. So I did get that information from him. If there's no immediate penalty, but the risk is they could get Cape Cod vocational.
Yeah, that's what I was
school,
thinking.
And we would have to bus them there. And we could get one there and one in
Yeah.
Norfolk.
No,
and-
that's exactly the answer I was looking for, that's the question I had, and that makes a lot of sense. That seems,
So, and I want to think he even sent me another email way after that one.
And we also need to let it be known that it was a gift. We're being gifted the opportunity to send some students there right now, right? They don't have to allow any of our students to go there.
Yeah.
They're being nice and allowing a handful of students to go there.
Yeah, the ones that were already.
Also, I mean, they're being
Yeah,
nice,
the ones that were
Jeff,
already-
that's one part of it. They want us to join the district because
Yeah.
we can help take the total cost, which is gonna be a very expensive bill for
Yeah.
the new
Oh,
school.
absolutely.
So I think that, which
It's a gift.
it's a give, yeah.
So I did ask him too, what happens if the town votes no? And he said basically, we would try to implement a year-to-year arrangement with Bristol Plymouth, but why would they, right? They've put out their hand to us, but if we don't join them, they may not, just like Old Colony did. And then we'd have to explore it, joining other districts. So that's just basically what I've asked him.
Okay.
So basically, history repeats itself, in a sense.
Yes, exactly what would
right?
happen. There's no consistency, and then there's no consistency for the students, or even the guidance counselors who recommend which students should go. I don't know where you're going, you know what I mean? They don't know the school. It's really about giving them a consistent vocational opportunity, so.
Okay, sorry. All right, so now moving on. So what does Bristol Plymouth Regional Vocational Technical School offer? BP offers 19 different technical options, academics, extracurricular activities, and sports. The Freetown Vocational Education Exploratory Committee researched various regional schools and recommended joining BP based on their offerings. That's a true story. That is what happened. I was here for it.
But do we need it on the flyer? I think that's almost a given. Do we add that to the first one? Like, BP offers, trying to shorten it, right? Because it's a postcard, right? It's like too many signs, right? If you go into the boat ramp, for instance, there's 30,000 signs at the boat ramp. Are you read every one of them? No, you gotta read the one you want to read. Oh, look, I can grill here, or I can't grill here, right? So.
Yeah, I mean.
So do we add that to say, in the first one, vocational school that offers 19 different courses? Do we add that to the first one and then kind of reduce the amount of?
I guess I think what I think the spirit of this one is like, because a lot of people are like thinking like why are we not going to Old Colony?
Mm-hmm.
Like why are we not trying to join there? And I think the reason why is because we put together a subcommittee exploratory committee, and they looked at all the options, and then they came back, and that's why we're going down this road, right? I think that. Is that fair to say?
So I asked Will Sinkowitz and Gene Fox to say, hey, why are we not going to Old Colony? Give me the answer.
Because that's going to be.
Because that's what people are going to ask us.
Yeah.
And they basically, that's not an option because of the way Old Colony ended things. It's just not an option. So just so you know, and I said, okay, hopefully they'll be at the town meeting to go into that, but it's really not an option. So I don't know. I didn't really know how to.
Well, it's a slippery slope because they're going to be building a building soon as well.
Yeah.
And I'm sure they would love to have Freetown dollars.
All the vocational areas, all the area vocational schools will be building new buildings. It's just the timeline, right? Diamond, I believe, is also, all of them.
Oh, yeah.
Diamond, I think they're like going through the process or something. Yeah. Okay, so let's circle back on that.
Yep.
Right, put a star on it.
Aren't you guys, are you guys offering basically a guaranteed option for vocational education now? I mean, that sounds like the way to explain it. That means it's guaranteeing.
Well, it's not guaranteed that every student will get accepted, right? But right now,
Right now they have nowhere to go.
currently right now they have nowhere to go.
Well,
BP's letting us go, but they don't have to let us go.
We have BP, but it's only a handful of students that they're allowing us to send.
Yeah.
Right? So I think this past year was 15 students that was allowed to send, and what we're talking about, preliminary numbers, is we used to send in the neighborhood of 70 students to
Old Colony.
Colony. So there's a big difference, and they're only gonna allow us to send so many for so long, so if we don't join.
All right. So moving on. So what communities are members of BP? That's a good question. Berkeley, Bridgewater, Dayton, Middleborough, Raynham, Rehoboth, and Taunton. That makes sense. And that's going to be an interesting thing and I expect people to ask because, we go to middle school with Lakeville kids,
right?
And then we're not in the same, it's an unfortunate situation.
So,
Yeah. It really is tough, because we combine sports, we combine
Yeah,
schools.
I mean,
And then we get to that vocational, sure, it's only up to 74 students, but 74 students, that's 74 relationships that
Yeah.
split off, so.
I wish Lakeville would join BP. That'd make my life a lot easier, I think.
We'll just have to go in front of their board and,
I think they're Old Colony.
Old Colony, yeah.
But so Lakeville bought into Old Colony way back in the day when we did not. And the decision was made not to do that a long time ago, so now we're dealing with the consequences of that.
People are gonna ask.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're ready for it. I mean, it's common knowledge that we know with years past.
But-
We had, what, 28 years of good, relationship with Old Colony?
Yeah, a long time.
So,
Yeah, my mom works there. So anyways, I think that's a good thing to have because people are gonna.
yeah, they're gonna bring it
Yeah.
up.
All right, what other vocational education options available to our students? The Freetown Vocational Education Exploratory Committee stated they have researched all the options and settled on BP as it was the best option for our students with more shops in closer proximity to the town. It's fair. Now, can that one be,
Yeah. I was thinking the same thing.
that kind of could be combined with the other one.
Which one?
What does Bristol Plymouth,
The original one we were discussing.
I mean,
What is it?
I don't know, what was it offered? This was saying, what other vocational options are available? None.
Not really,
That's it.
really. Not at this time, there's none.
Honestly, and that might be a more striking kind of thing to say,
None at this time.
none at this time, because that's true.
We'd have to go out.
The only, like, I know like Bristol Aggie, but that's not vocational, that's agricultural, right?
Mhm.
Because I mean, I know we have kids that go to Bristol Aggie. Maybe that's a kind of, because that might be something people could be confused about. 'Cause I was kind of confused about that.
What, Bristol Aggie?
Like Bristol Aggie, because that is an option we
We are a
have.
member, yeah.
We're a member of Bristol Aggie. It's just not technically a vocational school. And the shops they offer are more
It's an agricultural.
agricultural, yeah.
So you want me to say something like the only available option
It's like,
is Bristol Aggie, which is an agricultural school?
I don't know
Is it
yet.
regional
You can
I
work,
don't even know that
Yeah.
you need to put that, I kind of like what you said, what you just said, none, but it's almost something that's just so striking to
Yeah.
people, right, that there is no other option.
yeah, I think, yeah, it might be just make it like,
Short.
just short and sweet. It's like,
Yeah, I
there
would
are currently
definitely
no
move
other
settled
options.
regardless. Settled is an opinion versus fact, right? So when I look at it, researched all options and BP was the best and only option. I think that's
Yeah, I mean,
wordsmithing it.
but yeah, sorry, I'll just make sure. So do you agree we should make it short and sweet and say
Short and
currently
sweet.
no other options? Okay, so I think we're
No other
consensus.
options? None?
Yeah,
Okay.
and it saves a little real estate on the card too. All right, what will BP's new buildings offer? The new building estimated completion date of 2026 will increase enrollment from 1,300 to 1,443 students, more centralized academic areas, and up-to-date technical areas. Fine with that. That's, I can see people asking that.
Yeah, I could think we could take it off too if we don't have them.
Yeah, let's put this on the,
Chopping block.
yeah, it's a bubble one.
And just for
Go with the one.
my awareness, 1,300 is what they have now.
Yeah.
They go up to 1,400.
Yeah, so it's really, that one actually kind of surprised me,
Yeah.
that you're
Going up
building
that
a
much.
building and you're only going up roughly 10%.
I thought the same thing.
Their building was only built for 700.
Yes.
There's
There's
That's
no
right,
more
it is,
capacity.
yeah, I'm sorry.
Because the thing is, if they probably went up more, then they'd have to hire more teachers, and like, they probably, that's probably a bigger problem than getting funding to, you know?
Yeah.
All right, so that's a bubble one. If we can fit it, great. Otherwise,
Chopping block.
we'll take it off.
And these might get jumbled here, so I think we can clean them up.
All right, yeah. So we're gonna go, how will students be selected to attend BP when we remember? Any interested student may apply, and the admission team at BP looks at each student's grades and discipline for 2 years. The current school's guidance counselors and send letters to BP, which are also reviewed, and the students are interviewed. Every applicant goes into a pool, and each town does not have a quota for enrollment. So, okay, that is an important thing to understand.
It is, so look at the bottom question, how many students can we send to BP? Because I think I can probably clean those up and put them together.
Yeah, that makes sense to me.
think it's about 5.3% of the total population.
But I think that I don't think there is, so this is confusing to me.
So, so one of the things that they bring up is 5.3% of the total population of the school, so if it's 1,400 and change, you're looking at around 74 students. But then you're right, it does say there's no quota, so what does that mean?
I don't think they don't have to hit a number, I guess.
So there is no, the students are selected, once you become a member,
Mhm.
the students are selected on merit.
Mhm.
So they all go in a pool and they're just ranked and the applications are accepted based on merit. So they could one year only accept 5 of the Freetown students.
Yeah.
Or they could accept 20 of our Freetown students. So we have no way of knowing, and our assessment will change based on.
How many students are there?
Yeah.
That's the point I was just gonna bring up, is our assessment
It's a-
changes based on the
it's a
amount of
variable-
students we enroll.
Yeah, it's a variable cost.
But traditionally, what we have sent to vocational schools, I think is about 18 students, 20
Per
students a
year.
year.
Right.
Which really gives you the total of 76 to 80 students, and most of our projections were based on those numbers.
Yeah.
And equal to about 5% of the total, and also that's about Berkeley's number, and so a lot of things, when I was looking at numbers, I looked at Berkeley's.
Yeah, Berkeley was the
enrollment.
closest one as well.
Okay, yeah, so I think it makes sense, so you could probably combine those two together though.
Yeah. I
Right,
agree.
but sometimes, it's confusing, because right now we get 15 slots, and everyone's like, oh, we need more slots, we may actually get less.
Right.
When we're a member,
Yeah, that's,
which is a scary thought, right? We might end up with less, because we have so many applications, but every town does, and it's on merit, so that's how it works.
yeah, all right.
So I can kind of rework those to join them so that they make sense, because I don't know how much detail we have to give them, just basically that's based on merit.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, absolutely.
all right, so next, we have, how much does it cost to join BP? There's no fee to join BP, however, Freetown will be assessed yearly by BP. That assessment amount will include the minimum local contribution as set by the state, transportation costs, and cost of debt. The assessment will change based on the number of students we send to the school.
So just to get people to understand, there's no fee, we're not paying a fee to join, which,
Yep.
Old Colony wanted a fee when they were discussing that way back when.
Yeah. Okay, and that's important to know.
No fee, but there's a tuition cost.
Yeah, but that,
Yeah, but
yeah,
that's
turned-
kind of fixed, right?
Yeah.
So the point of Deb bringing up was Old Colony wanted us to accept some of their bad debt,
Yeah.
right? And they don't have any bad debt, so we don't have to pay them any fee to join.
yeah.
Okay, that
You
makes
can
sense.
take it out if we don't have room, if you think, I was just trying to come up with things, it's confusing on how it's all working, and we're talking about a lot of money, but it's really not a fee, there's no fee to join.
So bubble item, just in case.
So this is the big one.
Yeah, this is the one that's,
So BP is building a new school, and I guess there might be a comma there or something, right? BP is building a new school, how will that impact? I don't know, I think that sentence is going to need a little work.
Yeah,
At the school,
I'll reword it.
Yeah, okay, BP is building a new school, how will that impact Freetown if we join the district? The portion of the debt Freetown will be responsible for will be allocated based on the number of students attending the school, which kind of is also going to be mentioned in the previous point, but I think that's good to really nail that down. The projected cost of Freetown, which would be changed based on the current enrollment, would be for 76 to 80 students, with 5% portion of the debt being Freetown's portion. Total debt is estimated at $183 million, making Freetown's portion of the debt $15 million, $700,000 a year for the bond funding. If Freetown did a debt exclusion, it would cost estimated $130 a year for a single-family home with a home value of $363,000. Without the debt exclusion, it's $700,000. Sorry, without the debt exclusion, the $700,000 would have to come out of the town's current budget, which we don't want to happen.
all right, and then the thing there is, so when we say it comes out of the town's budget, do we also put in there what that means, right? If people realize that's
That means,
people, time, and services, right?
yeah,
That's essentially what it means.
That's a scary thing to put, but it's almost, you do almost want to put
Yeah.
i.e.
You gotta be honest with
police, fire, and town hall or something, or.
Yeah, except just keep
You
in
don't
mind,
want-
if you're the police department and I'm putting this, that
Yeah.
I'm cutting your budget, like.
Yeah, they're gonna get upset, so
they're
that's why I'm
gonna get
saying
upset.
scary.
And I don't
to put
know the
that.
numbers,
Yeah.
right, because we have to take into new growth, we have to take in, we don't know, right? Maybe we could swallow that, I doubt it, but, you know what I mean? I don't want to alarm anybody.
Yeah, no, I
Because
don't.
it creates, it'll create a morale, right? If you're thinking about leaving your job and you hear that your department might get a budget cut, you'd be like, hey, you know what?
Yeah,
I
no.
really like you, Freetown, but
I'm out.
I need a secure place to go work. And we're already having issues like every other town trying to get.
Attract talent.
Yeah, I just, that's very important for you guys to vote on that language, because you know that'll be controversial.
This is gonna upset some people, but I do think it's important that people understand this.
Yeah, I think, same thing, I agree. I think, is it scary? Yeah, absolutely. At the same time, I'd rather be upfront 100% than having them come back years later going, hey, we didn't know about this. We said it right there, it's scary, and we can talk to it while we're there, saying, this is what it means, that exclusion is the way to go, not the other way.
Yeah, I mean,
You know, both aren't great, let's face it, right? But the least evil of the two is that exclusion.
for sure. I mean,
So-
I think $130 on a yearly basis is something that, it's tough for, I know if people live on a fixed income, I get that, it's tough, but of the two options, right, we're in a tough situation. We need a vocational option,
Yeah.
and, we need to somehow pay for it. I mean,
And one thing we can add to
the
that.
money is crazy, it really is, but,
Well, one of the things we can add to that as well, right now we're paying around roughly the same amount for the building we're in. We have what, 4 years, 6 years left?
6 years,
6
1 year,
years?
2, yeah.
So in 6 years, your tax will somewhat go down because you're not doing the same amount. So it really, in a way, offsets after 6 years.
Yeah,
And then
that's
you're
right.
paying the amount you're paying now.
Right, which is one of the things that I wanted to work on, like I was telling you earlier, a timetable, because the debt from BP won't hit for a couple more years, right? So I kind of want to do something that shows, okay, right now, we're not going to have any debt. 2 years from now, we're going to have the BP debt and the police station
it'll be a
debt.
tough year.
But
A couple
then-
of years.
But then there'll be a couple of years, and then the police
Right.
station drops off. So it might be painful for some people for maybe 4 years.
But then it's gonna be budget neutral, or almost neutral to what they
It will almost be
noticed.
neutral.
It'll offset
Yeah.
each other. In a
Because
sense.
We pay $500,000, we have a debt exclusion for $500,000 a year to pay for the police
So it's like
station.
probably like $105, or
Yeah, probably.
$115 for the average household that we each all pay
Yeah.
for this building.
Yeah. Yeah, it fluctuates anywhere from as low as, I think, the projection at the time
And
was
we're
63
lucky
to
in that we
125.
have a split
Yeah.
rate, tax rate, right? Because I will tell you, the businesses are gonna bore more of
Yeah.
this than the
And
residents.
especially when we voted on that, we put more of the allocation to the
Yeah.
commercial and industrial. They took a heavier burden on that, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we are lucky in that. A lot of towns, I mean, when this number came out, I questioned it because every other town is double that. So I'm like,
Yeah.
I said this, I want to make sure this number's correct. I don't want to publish an incorrect number. I did vet this number. I did
Mhm.
look at the formulas. I did go through the number. This is a correct number.
Mm.
So we are much better off than all of the other towns actually that are involved in terms of what it's going to cost, a debt exclusion, what it would cost our people. And again, that number is going to fluctuate. Although I feel pretty comfortable with the projection at 76 to 80 students, I think definitely we will be there.
Because once the population, the residents realize they can go there, they're gonna look at it more seriously, especially when you have 19 options, 6 more than what Old Colony has now.
Yeah.
Right? So I think that might open the door to maybe.
And also, I think people are gonna wanna go to a school cutting edge,
State-of-the-art, right?
brand new,
Yeah.
like,
Oh, it's gorgeous.
That's a huge, I wish my high school was so old.
It's going to be really awesome,
Absolutely.
actually.
Okay, so I think, we all agree with that.
Yeah, and I think that's a great talking point when we're there at town hall, is that you don't have to put all that in there, that's a it's a lot of words. But keep that as a cliff note in a sense when it's being read, read it out loud, say, hey, it's gonna fluctuate, but after a couple of years, it's really where you're back where you are today, right? So that's good. That's a good highlight, because we're going to tell them, hey, this could mean losing services, but at the same time, we do it right, it'll only sting for a couple of years, right? You're double dipping for both this and that.
Probably 4 years of pain, and then the police station will be paid for.
So I guess the question there is,
pretty impressive.
someone's gonna ask, is my taxes gonna go up? We tell them, yes, it's gonna go up.
Well, they have to vote for the debt exclusion, right?
Right.
So the risk is that they don't,
Yeah.
and that this 700,000 has to come out of our operating budget. And I think the assessment, what I've looked at for just the assessment, the operating assessment is going to be higher than what we've been paying. So we're already gonna have to take money out of our operating budget because it's gonna cost more to go to BP than it currently what we're paying. So you take the increase in the regular assessment and the debt assessment, and if we don't have an override for the debt piece, we are in trouble. It's probably $1 million hit to our budgets, and I don't know where we get it from. We just don't have a place to get it from.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, so if the town votes to join BP at the special town meeting, 10/18, and the voters do not vote for debt exclusion, what happens? Once the town votes to join BP, and the town has to pay the assessed figures with either a debt exclusion or cutting the town's budget.
Yep.
The debt assessment and the transportation costs, so that's good. So you kind of like, this is kind of what you were looking for.
Yeah.
Transportation costs are allocated based on a number of students Freetown is sending to school. Assessment may fluctuate year to year. I'm losing my ability to read, just so you know. It's been a very long day for me. Okay, so I think we're good with that.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, and then we already talked about this one.
Yeah. I just want you to know too, just so we're clear, the debt exclusion question that's on the back, that FinCom asked to be put on the town meeting, that's a two-part vote. So if it gets approved at town meeting, it still has to go to ballot question. So even if they approve a debt exclusion at town meeting, it's not done. It has to go to ballot, and it could not pass that ballot. So just so you understand, it's a two-part.
The debt exclusion is two parts?
It's a two-part, town meeting vote and
And
ballot
then
vote.
ballot vote. I don't think I knew
We
that.
discussed that early in the year when we discussed this, whether or not we're gonna put it in the September
Yeah.
special election, well, not special election, the election primaries. So,
As a ballot
Yeah.
question.
I thought it was an either or, which it makes sense that it's a double.
It's a double. And I mean, if you fail at one, you can go back for another bite at the apple. If you pass at one and fail at one, you can go back, right? But you have to pass at both. Luckily, where the debt isn't going to hit for a couple of years, you have some time to keep going at this. But I think for the sake of joining BP, it makes sense to have that discussion while we're discussing joining, because once you join, you are on the hook for the money no matter what. So it does make sense for people to at least start hearing about this debt exclusion, and that's going to be necessary in order to keep our budgets flowing and keep it services to the townspeople.
Yeah?
So,
All right, so now, do we need a vote on this?
let's say,
I mean-
what's the
vote.
timeline for mailing this out?
Discussion vote
The
approved.
plan is to have it mailed the week of October 10th, so he needs it at least the week before that. So if we can get it to him early next week, it'd be best.
And they want to vote on the October 3rd, that would be,
So what's the postcard gonna be, like an 8x11 folded in
That
half?
we use design time.
Yeah.
I think that's what she was saying.
We can vote on, really, I think we're good with everything here. And in the motion, I can say, give discretion to the town administrator's office to, all right. So yeah, so I'll entertain a motion to approve the postcards and give town administrator the ability to make, edits per our discussion.
Well, I'll make the motion.
Yeah.
A second?
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, okay, I think we're done. All right, so we're gonna sign and then we'll adjourn. Yep.
Do you have any idea when the phone service thing's gonna be set up for Excel to complain on?
is that on our next agenda?
It is on 10/3.
It's on 10/3 to discuss.
Do you know if they need a transfer license for where they're dumping the stuff now for the train?
I don't know that. I know, Carlos, you worked on that a little bit,
I
right?
did. So it appears that, Excel, back in March, it looks like March, April this year, went to American or Basque for an easement of their railway system in the back, right? Because there's tracks back there. American didn't want to release that because they're also building an extended building. They don't know if that's going to increase the size, it's going to, what it's going to do to the track.
Yeah.
So what they did was they reached out to Mass DOT, and Mass DOT, working with Excel, asked them for licenses and then permits and things like that. and granted an easement to Excel to move through the freight line. So next question was, what's the plan for that line down the road? And right now, it's a one-year lease from May 25th, 2022 to May 25th, 2023, so the maybe 26th of May 2023. So it's a one-year lease. And they're still going to be working on the easement with American to see if they're willing to, lease that land to them. If not, they're going to try and see if they can get their own land and build their own easement or their own train. So that's all in flux right now. We're all very well aware of it, working with DOT, South Coast, MBTA, everybody's, many emails have gone out to figure out what's
You need
going
a
on.
transfer license if you're gonna transfer trash from one facility to another.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you call them that's not trash. If he's not calling it hazardous waste, then what do you call it?
Yeah. So we just got the paperwork and there's quite a bit to go through. And we're going through it and we've notified who we needed to notify to take a look at it appropriately.
Do you have any idea when what the schedule is gonna be for this train?
The MBTA train?
Yeah.
I mean,
Again, when we asked the questions.
It's 9:30 at night now.
So we asked the MBTA in the same question, what the noise was at the end that night. Turns out there is a MBTA, not station, but there's something going on there for work, right? And they're working on the tracks and the trains. And the noise you're hearing most likely is the train alarm when they're backing up, similar to almost like a big vehicle, like a box
I'm
alarm.
not complaining about that. I mean, at 9:30 at night, they're taking the train out of there. And it sits there and not
idles
across
and
High
idles.
Street because there's no lights or anything. So it sits there running for a while and then it starts going again. And I'm like, is this gonna go on all night long?
So we asked the question about noise and everything else, and they'd say if there's a noise issue, to let them know, and that they'll do their best to mitigate the noise.
So
But-
And we also asked about the vibration and noise mitigation, mini ducts and everything else. I've asked for the study, who was contacted, and to make sure that the people that were contacted were given the chance to go ahead and then get those improvements, whether it's front-facing windows, mini ducts, insulation, things of that nature. So there were two studies made for 2014 and 2018. They sent us, and right now currently reviewing it all to see who's given the option, who wasn't, and why weren't they given the option.
Yeah,
So-
but I never heard anything.
And that's why I asked for the report and why they did it.
Gene Fox ran around saying that everybody could get free insulation, free windows and everything else. No one ever put a number out there to call for a complaint though.
I have it in writing in file, currently reviewing, just got it today, this morning in
I
fact.
get the number from you.
Yes, absolutely.
I will follow up with town council about that transfer trash license and if that applies, if that's okay with the board.
yeah, that's fine. I
Absolutely.
don't, not familiar with
I
the
might have CC'd
situation.
you on an email already
Okay.
to the council regarding that, so I'm not sure if I sent that or if it's in draft, but if I did, I put you on.
I've been crazy busy the
Yeah.
last.
I know, so I kind of took that and just asked a question, simple question, to see what the answer was, so.
And maybe we want to have Gene Fox in for,
The MBTA South Coast Rail did in fact offer them to come out and do a presentation, answer any questions from the public, if we wanted to. So I told her we would check with the board and,
say, ask the board.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess like, it's the idle, I'm curious because, I mean, it's a commuter rail, right? So those are probably going from 6 in the morning till, I mean, I know I used to take commuter rail into Boston all the time, until like late at night. I think your concern is more of it idling, just sitting there underneath High Street.
Well, they don't use the crossing guards or nothing, there's nothing that comes down evidently on High Street and everything, so they slow down to almost a stop before.
Oh, okay, I got what you're saying. So it
just
takes
sits there,
forever?
boom, 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 boom. I mean,
Gotcha.
Your house is sitting there shaking and going back and forth, and I mean, they never put it past like 4 or 5 o'clock before.
Yeah.
All of a sudden,
Well, so-
9:30 at night, and it's sitting there. Boom, boom, boom.
This is like the train that's like, has like the, it's like materials, it's like some kind of, like the big, what am I looking for? The kind of containers that they are. It's not like a commuter rail train, right?
Yeah,
Right?
it's the industrial one.
Yeah, so
It's what's always traveled on the track before.
Yeah.
They never had the commuter one.
So someone told, I'm not sure this is 100% true, but someone told me this the other day that they switched the schedule to go at night because of work they were doing during the day, right? So like right now, because they're doing the repairs for the MBTA, they run those at night. Someone did tell me that the other day. I have no proof of that.
No, I believe you're correct, Trevor. I have the email from the MBTA in front of me, and their hours have changed. And they just, in fact, they provided me something I was going to put out there to make sure the town knows through the town website or in Facebook and everything else, to kind of break down what's going on back there and what they're doing, what the future plan is. As far as a schedule for the actual train itself, there's none yet made, right? But their preliminary idea is 3 in the morning and 3 in the evening each way, right? Maybe some in the middle. They just don't know yet. They're still in the process. I asked if we can have a set 2 cents into that, like almost like a noise mitigation time frame. I believe that was shot down from my initial communication, but it's something that's in process. Again, emails came in this morning, and we were.
Questions that you asked?
So, yeah, a lot of back and forth, and they were great. I will give them that. The MBTA South Coast provided accurate, some good answers that I was able to follow through and actually research online, independent research based on what they provided, and I have yet to find anything that I can sit there and go, ha, gotcha. So I will give them credit where credit is due. So they've been very, very good at communicating
I was
that.
just wondering if they're changing that whole shift to taking like Excel stuff and taking those tankers that go to Fall River and everything.
Yeah.
If they're gonna switch that also.
To the nighttime now because of the MBTA.
They were on a 24-hour schedule according to the email, and they're going to be going back to normal time from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. at the latest.
For the non.
For what they're doing now, because they're going to be starting building the train station. They're going to start working on that area, so their operations are going to move a little bit. But again, I'll put that all in a nicely crafted statement, give it to town, and then have them put it out there so that the town's aware. But like I said, it's started yesterday or the day before, and we've been going back and forth with. And these emails are thousands of words long. I've been very thorough what we've been asking them based on information from residents like yourselves that have asked us to reach out to them saying what's going on. So again, they've been very proactive in responding to my emails and everything else.
And I've even asked them, to your point, you live so close to the tracks, right? Crossings. I've been at stores where I have a store that's really close to the crossing, and there seems to be no rhyme or reason for how a train goes and sounds its horn. Some guys go by and it's like a constant noise, but they're supposed to have certain ways of how they sound their horn when they cross, speeds at which they cross. And
I can hear them down on Elm Street when they're blowing the horn when they're going across there.
Yeah.
They don't blow it when they come across High Street. I
Yeah.
don't exactly know why,
Yeah.
but the thing is, they come to a complete stop before they go across High Street. So it just sits there, dum, 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 and
That's
then
weird.
it starts moving, it doesn't move very fast.
That's
It
weird.
sounds like Carlos has been trying to get some answers, so I don't want to step on his toes.
No,
We can figure. Yeah.
yeah, I have it all here. I've asked for it's public knowledge, publicly available, and the answer is yes. And again, they did offer to come out and present something to us and speak to the community and everything else. But I'm staying on and the company's name that's working right now is contractors Skanska and White and SR Constructors at Campanelli. They're doing staging, so in a large area, getting ready for the rail crossing. And again, 7 to 7 is what they're going to start doing on the Middleborough line very soon. So.
I recall getting an email today just to jump in from Gene Fox, DOT, saying that they're going to have crews working past the normal 7 p.m. end time next week, wrapping up some activities at the station site on South Main Street. They're gonna have light towers, and crews have been advised to direct the lights toward the work areas. So they're not talking necessarily about trains, but they are gonna be working past 7 p.m. on the South Main Street station.
Maybe if they're working there at night, then those trains that are coming at night now will come during the day.
So
I
we
just got that
so
email today, that
Yeah.
if that sheds any light on anything.
I believe the intent has been relayed to DOT and MBTA to notify us so that we can notify the residents and the community ahead of time, so that there's no guesswork that is happening, or like myself, 9:30, I'm hearing it as well. So that kind of, that, and plus the emails and phone calls that I receive from residents that live nearby. I reached out with our appropriate people on, obviously I can't put you two on there because, it's the whole open, beating the law thing. But we're definitely on them, and they reciprocated all the emails.
I was just wondering if they're changing their whole shift, that's all.
Yeah, I have no idea.
This every night.
I'm with you. My wife's been hearing it, I've been hearing it, the kids have been hearing it, even the dog looks at me and goes, what's that? And so, we're aware, and that's what, and in fact, because of that, it's what created the emails and created the idea. It was like, hey, we need to reach out, what's going on out there, so that we can provide the proper answers to you folks in a timely manner, so that we're not guessing, or your folks are not scrambling to call us, and then not have the answers. So we want the answers ahead of time, and I think we've relayed that to the point that they're going to provide us answers ahead of time. Point in case, the email that Deb received of the schedule now, that's coming up. So I think it's been relayed, and hopefully it just stays that way.
I just forwarded you that email as well, and to Luann, so if you want that put on social media, Luann can probably do that, or you can do that.
All right, so I guess we'll follow up on that. I think is that all for public input today? Good? All right, you good? Yeah. Thank you. All right, so I'll entertain, sorry, I did sign everything. I was jumping ahead. Yeah.
These are mine, I get to sign something. Oh, important today.
All right.
Looks like just for a week, Monday through Friday of next week. Extended hours.
Usually you get that telephone number for a complaint.
Yeah.
I'll find it. There we go. Dan passed it already.
I don't know, guys. I've been thinking about changing my signature line. I don't know. It's almost like a doctor.
That one.
The older I get, the worse my signature
Yeah.
gets.
I just got my new real ID from the RMV.
Perfect.
So I'm sitting there trying to do that on a pin pad. I'm going. So now everything just looks like a
This is
a
mine.
big C. So now I gotta change it. Dr. Lopes. It's trademarked. Skip.
I used to start carrying this.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that almost says Garrett.
Yeah. That's what mine looks like in my ID.
We'll just double check it before we send it anyway. Can't hurt.
So maybe my recollection was prior to the July increase.
Could be, and that's right, weekly warrants for payroll. Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right.
We're almost done.
So that's gonna be a fun little full ramp meeting coming up, huh?
Always. Just the same thing.
All right. Go to signatures. So with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion made.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Aye.